Hi again, Gregg with the News Tribune. You're at the backyard office on another beautiful summer Seattle day. Football's back. The Seahawks report to training camp in Renton on Tuesday. Their first practice is on Wednesday. What should you expect? What will I be watching for? Well, first of all, the headlining competition and battle has been since March when they traded Russell Wilson to Denver is who's going to be the starting quarterback. For the first time in 10 years, that's a question in Seattle. You can say, I think, rightly so, this is the most changed and new training camp of Pete Carroll's 12 years with the team. Not only is he changing a quarterback, which he hasn't done in a decade, he's also changing his defense. He has been a disciple of the 4-3 with cover 3 zone coverage in the back. I mean, since the Nixon administration, since he started coaching in the early 1970s, way back to working with Lou Holtz, and he is steeped in that. Well, he's changing. He's going to a 3-4. He wants much faster pressure off the edge on quarterbacks to force turnovers, more than the 18 they had last year in 17 games, the fewest in franchise history. The plan is to be more attacking and more dynamic on defense to force mistakes by the offense and turnovers, therefore not relying as much on the quarterback, no matter who it may end up being. Who is that quarterback going to be? I'm going to be watching to see, are they actually going to give Drew Lock and Geno Smith a true competition, meaning alternating with the ones both in practice and in games, series by series. They haven't done that yet. In the OTAs and in the mini camp through June, it was Geno Smith the clear number one with the starting offensive line, backs, and receivers, and Drew Lock was with the second when they were with team scrimmaging. They've all said the Seahawks, Carroll and Shane Waldron, the offensive coordinator, that's because of Smith's familiarity. Of course, he's been here the last 3 years as Wilson's backup. Carroll, though, made a point of saying at the end of offseason workouts that Lock will not take him long during training camp to catch up in that regard. That, to me, was a public statement, not just to us and the fans, but also to Drew Lock, that, hey, you've been number 2 so far, but you're not necessarily going to stay that way. We'll see. How soon are they going to have Lock alternating? And that makes the games more important. There's one fewer preseason game. Now there's 3 instead of 4. I think that there aren't going to be these just cameos with the starting offense for a series or a few plays starting on August 13th at Pittsburgh. I think you really should, and they should, alternate for a couple series at least, Drew Lock and Geno Smith. We'll see how that plays out. Another competition I'll be watching closely is the offensive tackles, the right tackle position. Charles Cross is the left tackle. You don't draft a guy 9th overall to have him sit the bench, their highest pick in 12 years. But on the right side, they drafted Abe Lucas in the 3rd round from Washington State, an Everett native. And they have Jay Curran, who played well in 3 starts last year for injured Brandon Shell at right tackle, the undrafted rookie from Cal last year. Both of them played, Curran and Lucas played on the right tackle position during the offseason workouts. Could they possibly start 2 rookie offensive tackles September 12th in the opener against Denver? I've asked Pete Carroll and Shane Waldron that. Waldron said, hey, if by September 12th those are the 2 best tackles and they start, that means they will have beaten out a guy who has played before in Curran. He didn't mention him by name, that's what he meant. And that Waldron would be okay with that. Only 2 teams in the last 40 years in the NFL have started rookie offensive tackles in week 1. The Seahawks may become the 3rd. The other position battle, the key position battle to watch is at cornerback. Sidney Jones re-signed for 1 year. He started last year, the former UW corner, who's been beset, his career been beset by injuries. On the right side, Artie Burns played well in the off-season workouts, OTAs, and minicamps. He was quick. He knew what he was doing because he knows Sean Desai's system. Carroll hired Desai, former Chicago Bears defensive coordinator last season, this offseason to remake the secondary and change how they cover, how they do more disguising, zone-man combinations. Well, Burns knows that system, and he had an advantage and was playing well and fast because he wasn't thinking as much in the spring practices. Trey Brown is due to come back soon from the knee surgery he had to end his rookie season last year. They really like Trey Brown, and when he does come back, probably early August, he probably should have, based on how he played last year, the inside track with Jones as the 2 starting corners, but Artie Burns is going to be a factor there. 2 tight ends versus 3 wide receivers is a competition in scheme because they not only committed $9 million guaranteed for this year and next to Noah Fant, whom they got in a trade with the Broncos in the Wilson deal, they gave $24 million, a high number, to Will Disley to bring him back. That's a $33+ million commitment for the next year and a half that you don't put on the bench. And if you're going to have 2 tight ends, and you're going to have DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, and you want to keep a third down back, as they do, Travis Homer and or DJ Dallas for pass protection, the third wide receiver issue may not matter by the end of training camp. Penny Hart's been there. He's coming back. He only has 12 catches in his 2 NFL seasons. Cody Thompson had a very good offseason by all accounts. He worked with Drew Lock in Dallas. In workouts, he's yet to catch a pass in an NFL regular season. The 2 rookies, Bo Melton, Derek Young, that they drafted this spring, were both beset by injuries this spring, and disappointed Pete Carroll about that. So they have questions at third wide receiver, but if they use 2 tight ends with Disley and Noah Fant, and oh, by the way, Kobe Parkinson's healthy, the draft pick from a couple years ago, is 6'7" and is a matchup nightmare in the red zone and third downs, they may not need a third wide receiver. All my coverage on that and more is at thenewstribune.com and on Twitter at GBellSeattle. Thanks for watching.